Hey, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and today in this video I am going to be swatching and testing out these Ohuhu Nahuku. I always struggle to say that. Ohuhu Nahuku. I hope I'm even saying it right. Anyway, I'm going to be testing these acrylic markers. Quick disclaimer, this is not a paid or sponsored video, but Ohuhu did send me these to try out, so just want to be upfront about that. But as always, I'm super honest about how I feel about art supplies on here. Basically, I'm going to just start swatching these, and as I'm swatching them, I'm going to explain for anyone who's never used acrylic markers before. They're basically markers that are filled with acrylic paint instead of ink or dye, which means that they're more like paint inside and they're opaque. So they actually show up on like darker paper and wood and glass and whatever. So and once they're dry, they're pretty water resistant. I wouldn't say they're waterproof, but they're water resistant, which is like the opposite of something like a Tombow dual brush, which is a water-based marker that's designed to be able to blend and bleed with water. So yeah, these are acrylic, and the Nahuku line specifically, it has one big soft brush tip with like they call it a direct ink system. So it kind of like regulates the flow, and it's just like already a saturated tip, and instead of you having to like pump or press the nib down, which is kind of standard with a lot of paint pens, it's just kind of like a mix of a brush pen and a paint pen all in one, and they're built more for like layering and like adding colors on top of each other the same way that you do when you paint with acrylic paint. So like I said, I'm just kind of swatching these here, and I really liked that they gave me black and white swatch paper, because it actually is really helpful to be able to see how opaque they are on both. I have never been like a huge swatch person. In fact, I kind of always just like fly by the seat of my pants when I'm using any sort of marker, and just like trust that whatever's on the marker, like the top of the marker, is the color, which has kind of bitten me before, where like I'll grab a color and go to use it and it looks nothing like it does on the top. So I think that doing this exercise right now is giving me a little bit of like it's converting me to being someone who swatches. I think it's actually going to be really helpful to have these two sheets, so I can quickly reference what the color is actually going to look like on paper, because it does look a little bit different than, I mean, most of these, like specifically these Ohuhu ones, are pretty spot on, but like, I don't know, it's helpful to see the colors all on paper beside each other. So if you're looking for like a specific kind of green or a specific whatever, it's really helpful to see. So as I'm doing this, I am loving the opacity, right? It's opacity. The one color that's usually a letdown for me is yellow. It's almost always the weakest, like most see-through color in every marker set. And that did hold true here too, but it's still better than other options I've seen. It's less opaque than the rest, but that's kind of like to be expected with yellow in general. The white was actually really good, and pretty much everything else was like really solid coverage. I also really liked that in this set, they include multiple whites and multiple blacks, because those are the ones you go through the fastest, and it's actually like really helpful to have multiple. So yeah, and like I said, the white is actually opaque, which feels like it shouldn't be that big of a deal based on all of the rest of them being opaque. But if you've used cheaper acrylic markers before, you know that's not always a given. So yeah, I really liked it. So that was that for swatching. And then after I swatched, I wanted to test them out a little bit more. So I decided to just draw a flower out of nowhere with absolutely zero pressure. I was just trying to quickly draw a flower as my like test subject, you know, to be able to see how these pens kind of behave on like regular sketchbook paper, and how the colors would actually layer on top of each other and work, you know, if I'm actually trying to draw something versus just doing little squares. And it was going really nicely. I was like not thrilled with the look of the flower, but it was layering and soft and blending, and you know, you could tell that it was a flower until I decided for some unknown reason to add purple at the very last second, and I completely ruined it. So this is not a piece that I'm ever going to put on the fridge, but I think even with my little like flower massacre, I really loved using these markers. I think that they're one of my favorite acrylic markers I've tried so far, and the opacity of them actually kind of blew me away. They're really fun to use, and obviously as a calligrapher, I love a brush tip, so I was loving the tip of them. I think they held up really nicely on a slightly rougher paper, and they weren't like pilling the paper. They were genuinely fun to use, and so I guess long story short, I would definitely recommend these Ohuhu Nahuku Ohuhu Nahuku markers. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you found that helpful. I have tons of other art supply review style videos on my channel, as well as lots of other art tutorials that I would love for you to go and take a peek at. I will link you to one of those next that I think you're gonna like, and I hope to see you over there.